Hello everyone, welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. Today I've got this card for you using one of my new stamp bundles that I've recently purchased from Stamping Up, and it's called Daisy Delight, and this is the one that we're going to be using today. It does come with a matching punch, which I'll do in the next video, but today we're just going to be using this really big daisy, and I'm going to show you how to stamp it so it's really like it's going to have petals in between here as well. So I felt it looked a bit boring just stamped like that, but then when I double stamped it, it really came out very well. So we're going to get started on that. So that's the card, and we're going to do a bit of tearing there, and then I just followed it through with a little bit of DSP on the side panel for inside of the card and a piece of Very Vanilla. So it's quite a simple card. So today I'm not going to be using the Stamparatus. I'm going to actually be using Shock Horror. I'm going to be using the acrylic block, which is very unusual for me. So those that watch me know I use my Stamparatus. Anyway, to start with, we're going to have a piece of early espresso, which is 11 inches long, 4 1/8 of an inch wide, and then I've scored that at 5.5 inches. And I'm just going to burnish that edge. Like so. And then I have a piece of Whisper White, which is measured 5 1/4 inches by 3 7/8, and then I just cut a piece of crumb cake just as a side panel, just to break up the whiteness. So I'm not just gluing in a piece of white Whisper White cardstock. And we're just going to pop that in the card straight away. Just put it round the right way. And I'm just going to put that in as straight as I can. So then just close that, give it a little rub, and we've done the inside of the card. So then what I'm going to do is put a panel of crumb cake on top of that straight away. Now that measures 5 1/4 by 3 7/8. So we'll pop that on there, and you're only going to see the border of the crumb cake, but it just lifts the card a little bit when you use coordinating colours that go with each other on your card. So I'm really enjoying using this Daisy Delight. Wasn't sure, I hadn't bought it, and I thought I was looking at getting a new stamp set, and I thought I'd give this one a go, and I'm really pleased with it. So I'm going to be doing a happy birthday card today. So then we've just got our front panel. Then we'll set that aside. Now we're going to use our piece of Very Vanilla, which measures 5 inches by 3 1/2. Now that's just what I started with, and then I'm going to tear it, but I might tear it first. So when I tear a little bit at a time, trying not to rush it. So I just do it, I know some people do it away from them, but I do it towards me. And I have my finger right at the back of the tear there, so that, and just weave it in and out so it's not too much of in a straight line. And then we're going to use a dauber, and we're going to just sponge that tear. So there we go. So then I'm going to use my soft suede. Just dab it in. So all I'm going to do is more like give it an antique-y look. So I want to get right on that edge, and I'm just coming up on a bit where it's the fibres have torn away, and I like to get the ink right onto those, like those right on the edge there, coming up onto the page. You can see a bit where I've sponged, so I'm just coming ever so slightly up onto the teared area. And as I'm applying the ink in this way, I'm pushing the dauber down. So it doesn't really matter what size you start with before you start tearing. Measurements I gave you were just what I've cut to fit the card, and allowing myself enough to be able to tear one side. So I'm going to be stamping in the soft suede. I'm going to be stamping in the soft suede the daffodil as well. So I'm quite happy how that's turned out there. So we still need so now I'm going to get my not pansy, daffodil, and I'm just going to stamp it up straight in the ink pad, and I want to make sure that I'm getting a really good cover, because I'm so used to using the Stamparatas where I can go back and add ink, whereas this way I can't. So I'm not worried if I go off the page a bit. I'm going to stamp about there and just give it a good even pressure down, and try not to rock your stamp, and then bring it up. And then we're going to stamp it back in again. Now I'm going to rotate the stamp so that the petals are going to be sitting in between these petals. And that's what I mean by I'm going to stamp it double. Then give it good pressure. And see, it just looks so much better than just stamping the plain daisy. So I'm just going to continue on and do this whole piece. It won't take very long. just add the pressure. I really like the daisy, the double daisy, rather than just stamping it one single time. And I'm trying not to overlap into any other daisy, but if I do, it's not the end of the world. So I'm just rotating it. So that. So you don't want to box yourself in, so just work around, even if you've only got a few petals. Just trying not to box myself in. So I rotate it. And what I mean by box myself in, if I'd stamped right in the middle there, it would have been hard for me to get a good coverage of daisies, because the ideal is I don't want to have a big space where there's no daisy. So I'm going to do that there, and then in those couple of little white spots, or very vanilla spots that don't have any stamp on them, I'm just going to do the tip of this daisy. So in here I'm just going to do tip into there, and then just in between. I might just put one into that edge there, and then just in this corner is all we've got left to do. Like that. So I think it's quite effective. Now what I'm going to do first, before I put that on my card, is that's going to go on that side like that. Okay, so what I've just got a piece of DSP from my stash. Now there's no real measurement. Because I'm just going to glue this to this side, like so. Just so it's got a little bit of a border going down there. Sorry if I went off the camera there, but I'm only just applying a little bit of glue to the DSP, and I might just add a bit closer to the edge there. Now most of this is going to be covered, so now I just want to put that down on this side. Try and make it equal at the top and the bottom, so the same space, but don't stress too much about it. So this is a good way to use up your DSP. What I've done is I've taken all my 12 by 12 packs and I've cut them all up into 6 by 6, and I've put them in cellophane bags and labelled what DSP they are, because that way I want to use up what I've got before I buy any more. So now we're just going to pop that over it like that. And this one's, I didn't tear as much off this one. I might even bring it right over a bit more. So I'm just going to have the tiniest of border showing on the opposite side of the card. So every one you do will turn out differently. Let's get some glue on there. I just like to get it right on that edge if I can, especially on the torn side. Okay, so then we're just going to apply it to our card. So I'm just going to bring it down here, just trying to get it the same sort of from the top and bottom. I'm not worried about the DSP on the other side because I like how much is showing. I'm not worried about that at all. It's just a different technique. And you've only got those few seconds. As you can see, I'm moving it a little bit. And then I'm just going to pat. There's a little bit of glue coming out there, but that's all right. Just grab our cotton bud. So that's why you really need it, the glue to be right on that edge of the torn area so that it's going to sit flush on your card. And that way it's just going to show that little bit of DSP. I mean, you don't have to put a big piece down like I did, but I like to because I'm trying to use it up. But not only that, then I know that it doesn't matter where my stamp piece is going to fit. It's going to fit exactly there. So then what I did was, I'll just pop that glue back. I had a piece of crumb cake and I stamped the happy birthday, and then with the layering ovals, and then the next size up I stamped it, I cut it out with early espresso. Now that happy birthday comes from the Special Celebrations stamp set, and that's the happy birthday up there. So it's a great set for sentiments. It has a lot of different sentiments. I use it quite a lot. And then I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the back of here and add my sentiment to the card. And then we're just about finished. So we've only used the daisy, the big daisy stamp from the set, and it's quite an effective It's quite effective when you do that double daisy like I did. So we're just going to layer that onto the early espresso oval. Press down. And then you just got to decide where you want to put your, so I think I'd like it off to the side like that. So I'm just going to apply that with a bit of glue. So just do a bit in the middle mainly to start with, so that if I don't get it exactly straight, it's going to let me swish it around a bit. So I think I'll put it about there. So I'm not one to use the tearing method or technique very often, but I really like it on this card. I really like it, so I might start using it a bit more. But if you don't like doing the tearing, you could just cut your piece a bit just straight with your trimmer and do your stamping and not do the torn edge if you don't like that. You don't like doing that. I know a lot of people don't. So just pop my glue away, get my mess out the way. So that's the card for today. So it's quite an effective look, I think. And this was the original one. So this was early espresso and soft suede and very vanilla. And this one is early espresso, crumb cake and very vanilla. So the very vanilla does look really good with the early espresso colour. So thank you for watching, and until next time, happy crafting.